So let's just introduce ourselves. You don't have to say it because he could put this in the front of
Yeah, if you
you.
want, but no, because the coronavirus thing is in the front. You need to scoot in or either take so
Yeah.
much of my side off. Okay. So, clap. Okay. So, one thing that I didn't do was introduce myself. My name is Monica Wright. And besides being one of the founders of Black Community Action Committee, I'm a realtor of 30 years. I've worked for several major developers in the city. And I'm a grandmother of 8 with my next 8th grandchild to be born next month. A mother of 5 adult children, 2 foster sons. And I have a long history of community activism, which, I'll share with you in this video also, because I think it's very relative to what we're going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
You want to introduce yourself?
So my name is Leah Wright. This is my mom. I'm the only girl of the 5. I got 4 kids, and I'm a bus driver. I drove for 2 major bus companies, one in the city and one state to state. So I used to drive all over this country. What else about myself? In the last 2 years, I work on houses. So I hang sheetrock. I put in flooring. No electrical, no plumbing, but just basics. And I mean, there's so many things about myself. I'm not. I don't have a long history of community activism like my mom, but I am trying to get more active in my community. I did try to run for city council once. That didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a young, struggling parent, and I can relate to a lot of people going through the same crises with housing and raising kids and just all the things that's going on that I feel as though should be changed. So, yeah.
Okay. So, the next segment of this video, I felt it would be good to reflect on some of the community activists and what they did and didn't achieve in Philadelphia. So, I'm 56 years old. And when I was coming up in my 20s, people tended to volunteer more often. And so I thought about the 3 community activists that really inspired me. And the first person I volunteered for was Sheikh Abdul Malik Muhammad. He was right there at 42nd and Lancaster, and he used to do a newspaper called Showcase. Mm-hmm. And I drew a comic strip for Showcase newspaper, and he organized the Lancaster Avenue Business Association. So I'd known him ever since I was about 14 years old. So I used to get on the trolley and go to Lancaster Avenue and draw my little comic strip that appeared in his newspaper. Mm-hmm. Then I volunteered for Reverend Olivia Sneed. And she was already elderly when I was in my 20s or 30s. And she was a great grandma or a great aunt because she was taking care of her grand niece. And she had invested her own money in a large building that used to be called the Wyneva Hotel on Wayne Avenue. And it's funny, I looked in the multiple listing service, mm-hmm. in the public records. Do you know that the lot where her property stood is not even in the public records anymore?
Why do you think that?
No, that's the way they take properties in Philly. Mm-hmm. Okay? If it's no longer listed in the public record, but the lot is there, do you disenfranchise the family? That because I knew when I worked for her, when I was in my 20s and 30s, she owned that property. So now it's this big, huge lot there, and you can't even look it up in the public records.
That's
and
crazy.
The third person who impacted my life and actually impacted our group was Drayton Bryant, and he ran the Philadelphia Cooperative Housing Center. He was a public planner back in 1961, 2 years before I was even born, and about 20 years before I met him. and he helped plan the Ramona Gardens, which was one of the first housing projects in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And he also worked for PHA. He was a community relations officer, but he had this great vision of people living and working together.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt that that could be done by cooperative housing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can you explain cooperative housing a little bit more?
Yes. Okay. So, like this house is a single family dwelling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think his vision of cooperativeness might be any structure could be called anything. This could be a mansion and still be a single family dwelling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But let's say if you were to take this house and create living space downstairs,
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps own this property cooperatively with another party,
Mm-hmm.
or have space where your family has space and you have shared mutual space.
Mm-hmm.
A cooperative also can have a legal structure.
Mm-hmm.
It can be everybody can own part of an apartment building in the
Mm-hmm.
same way they call it a condominium or a co-op.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody involved pays for common areas and,
Mm-hmm.
and common expenses of maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he more so saw a holistic way of people living together where you would have an elder live downstairs,
Mm-hmm.
and the elder lives down there because of the benefit to be close to a family and have a small space that maybe you do the management and maintain.
That, or what if a elder wanted to donate their house to a family and then move in the basement and they like live out their lease term for something like that.
Yeah, and when I knew Drayton Bryant, he went to Philadelphia Ethical Society, which had a lot of people of Jewish ancestry there. And they had lived in the Strawberry Mansion area before Strawberry Mansion became primarily African American.
Mm-hmm.
And they donated $5,000 to my original nonprofit group, which was Single Mothers, Single Brothers Network. And we bought 2 3-story houses. They were beautiful, big, grand houses. And then we were supposed to buy a couple houses up the street. Now, what we didn't know when Drayton Bryant was helping us was that it was the beginning of the crack epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
So if we fixed the toilet and we left out, when we came back, the toilet was gone.
Mm.
And I'll tell you a funny story. I used to have a little 10-speed bike back when everybody wanted a 10-speed bike.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an old refrigerator that was in the house at 3223 West Berks. And if you remember the old refrigerators that had a handle, you had to go to open up the refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
So I rode my bike to the house and I walked somewhere in the neighborhood, or I had a car at the same time. I went somewhere else, chained the bike to the door of the refrigerator, came back to the house, and they took my bike and the door of the refrigerator. Mm-hmm. And I remember asking everybody in the neighborhood. Now, I was so naive. I didn't know that crack had started.
Mm-hmm.
People had started to smoke crack. And so I was like, I couldn't believe they took the refrigerator door and my bike. So eventually my group, we kind of gave up. We weren't funded beyond the $5,000, and we turned the house over to the Dignity and Fairness for the Homeless. And about 3 families lived in the house for about 10 years, but they never did no fixing on it.
Mm.
And the house caved in and was tore down. And that was the lot that our group sold. We all worked together, which was wonderful. Mm-hmm. We got the city to forgive $17,000 worth of debt. Mm-hmm. Our group made a $7,000, close to $8,000 profit that we all shared in about a year ago. Mm-hmm. And we sold a lot. Mm-hmm. Now those lots that we sold for, I think we sold it for 40. Mm-hmm. They're flipping them for like 150 now.
Of course. This whole city is it'll be unaffordable in the next couple years. I mean, if this coronavirus thing don't take
I know
hold, because we know
this
now
Corona done changed the game.
Yeah, it changed the game. But what I will say is what I've learned in these 2 years with this house is, if you do like believe in housing your people and you do want to or whatever people it is. If you want to house yourself or house the people in your community, don't give up. Because what I've learned is supplies at Home Depot is super cheap. You could drywall a room for about $100, and a bucket of spackle is about $20. If you're willing to invest, then you should be willing to get up and do the work. And it's so easy to just sit back and not do this work because you can't pay somebody to do it. You can do it. I've done it. So you got to keep working through it, and if not, then we won't be housed.
Right.
So, yep.
Well, the last thing I wanted to talk about was possibility. Again, one thing as I look back on the people who inspired me, Drayton Bryant, Reverend Olivia Sneed, and Sheikh Abdul Malik Muhammad, I realized they never realized their dreams. They all got old, and I know that they, as a 20-something-year-old, they were relying on me to do something I didn't understand. I was in the same shape that you were in with me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand what they were trying to teach me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I see it now at 56 years old, and now I'm tired.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what happens. They didn't achieve their dream because it takes each of us. The revolution does have to happen
With
inside
each
of you.
individual.
Yeah, but they
Right.
prepared me. They
Right.
prepared me to take it a little further.
Right. And I feel like because I'm young and I feel like I'm at the prime of my life, I'm 29, I feel strong, I feel good, that I need to take advantage of that. And my goal is to help keep doing this work. I see men all around this city, they building things in like 2 days. And I feel like we could get just as motivated to do this. Yeah, and productive to do this for our people. I mean, we have to. If you sit back and wait for somebody else to house you, it just ain't going to happen.
Yeah, none of our men and women can ask other men and women of other groups to house us.
Yeah, you got to
We
think
got
about
hands.
It's bizarre to expect another group of men to come and build houses and give them to you. They don't know you. They don't have any connection to you. Mm-hmm. They're going to build houses and give it to the people who matter to them. So as a community, us young people and us people that's able, we need to get up and start working like little busy bees and house each other. And it's possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is.
It can be done. And 2 years isn't even a long time. I'm not all the way done, but I got pretty far. And if I had a helping hand, I'm doing things by myself. I just split my hand open a week ago, putting in some floors, doing it by myself, which can be kind of dangerous or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if we all help each other, we could be putting houses up just as quick as other people. You know,
and this only took us 2 years.
Yeah, it took 2 years. It's not almost. It'll probably take 2.5 or 3 to get completely done. Still, that's not a long time, because if you sit back and do nothing, that 3 years will go past and you'll still have nothing to show for it.
That's right.
Versus just working.
Okay. So thank you for listening. We're going to have more videos. Some of it will be instructional. Some of it will show the pictures of what has been done with the house. Definitely join Black Communities Action Committee. I'm sure you're going to see some type of graphic that'll tell you how to get in touch with us. We need everybody to come together. Let us know your needs. Let's fulfill each other's needs. Mm-hmm. Thank you.